Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are going to talk on non-verbal communication, which is an important part of communication process. Previously we have talked on verbal communication, which is sending or receiving messages through words, and we communicate verbally through oral way as we speak, or through written way as we write something to send it to others. Non-verbal communication is communication without words. It is actually using your body postures, your hands, your facial expressions, your eye contact, movement of your eyeballs, your space with others, and your distance with your audience, and many more things like that. We will discuss non-verbal communication step by step, and we will discuss different types of non-verbal communication. When we talk of non-verbal signals, they are sometimes universal and sometimes local. For example, facial expressions are very universal sort of non-verbal communication, as expression for anger, expression for happiness, expression for fear, or expression for worry is same all over the world and is interpreted with same meaning wherever you go. But some non-verbal signals, like this signal pointing finger, or this signal, or many other signals, or many other actions, non-verbal actions, are very local, and they are interpreted according to the prevailing culture. In one culture, one non-verbal signal can mean one thing, and in another culture, it can mean another thing. And it is quite possible that one signal that is positive, having positive meaning in one culture, can have negative meaning in another culture. So it is very necessary for a communicator to know non-verbal signals and their global implications, as sometimes non-verbal signals can become a problem, as they may be having derogatory meaning on some place of the earth, and the communicator, if the audience is multicultural, the communicator can have problems in interpretations. The first channel of nonverbal communication is kinesics. It is actually through your body movements, like facial expressions, eye contact, gestures, and body postures. When you are communicating and you are not having facial expressions, you are having a spot face, or you are having fear or worry on your face, it is interpreted. And if you are having a smile, it is also interpreted. So your facial expressions add meaning to your communication. If you are communicating without facial expression, it shows that you are not adding meaning, or you are not adding emphasis, or you are not adding things which should be there in your communication. If you are not having eye contact, as I am talking to you and I am having eye contact with you people, if I avoid eyes, like I start looking sideways when I am talking to you people, it will have a negative impact on my communication, as people will think that I'm not interacting with them. And if I'm not interacting with my audience, it shows that I am a weak communicator. When you have an eye contact with your audience, you grab their attention, and when your audience is attending you, they will be more interested in your talk and in your communication. So it is more or less eye contact is in oral communication mostly, and when you are talking face to face, you will have to manage eye contact. And then body postures, movements, and your gestures. Like if I am waving my hand like this, when I'm talking, I'm using my hands, and I'm not hiding them into my pockets or on my back. It brings an impact in the communication. If I don't use hands, and if I make a negative sort of posture, I stand I am reclining, or I sit as I am not interested. I am reclining on my seat, or I am crossing my legs in front of my audience, or things like that. If my posture is not correct, if my body movements are not correct, if my facial expressions are not matching my words, if I am not having eye contact with my audience, it will be a bad communication. For good communication, you should add kinesics to your communication to make it more meaningful and to make it more effective, because effective communication without nonverbal signals is not possible. The second thing in nonverbal communication is vocalics. Uh, Nonverbal communication, like loudness of our communication when we are talking, how loud we are, and what is our pitch, and what is our speech rate, and what is our tone. Everything determines the meaning that we are having. For example, if I say, I am responsible for this, it is it having another meaning. And if I say, I am responsible for this, and it will have another meaning. So our tone, our speed, our pitch, and loudness of our talk will determine many things in nonverbal communication. We have to be very clear when we are talking to our audience that how loud should we to be audible as well as to be understandable. As if we are louder than required, it will be very you can say it will be very disturbing, and audience will not be comfortable with what you are doing. And then your speech rate, if you will talk very fast or in a speedy way, or if you will talk very slow, both can disturb your audience. The interest of the audience should be kept intact. If they are not interested, if they lose interest during your communication, during your talk, it will have a bad impact on your overall communication. Touch is another way of non-verbal communication where we physically interact with others to tell them some meaning. Uh, we can touch others for many purposes, as it can be a professional touch, as there are some professions which need that one should touch the others, like if you are a medical doctor, it will be needed to touch your patients sometimes for checkup purposes. Then you can touch others for punishments, as when you slap somebody or you punch somebody, it gives a big message. Greetings also usually through touch, as you shake hands with others and you have full body hugs, or you kiss the cheeks of others, and through this you are transmitting emotions and love for others, and you are transmitting greetings through this touch. Sometimes you touch others to guide them towards some direction by patting on their back, or by touching them by shoulder and signaling them towards a certain direction. Sometimes you are sitting in a community in a gathering and somebody is not attending you, you can touch his or her arm or shoulder and get the attention of that person. Touch is another meaning of sympathy are carried through touch, as when somebody is in distress and you want to communicate your love for and sympathy for that person, you can touch and even hug that person to have to share the feelings with him or her. Then friendship. In friendships, you touch your friends, you hug your friends, you play with your friends, and it communicates your intimacy and your love. But touch is a very good way to communicate, but it also has some cultural bindings, as in some cultures you cannot touch male or female, or in some cultures you cannot touch in a certain way. Like in one culture you can hug a person to communicate your greetings, but in another culture you cannot hug other person to send your greetings. So when we are talking of non-verbal communication through touch, we have to be very careful while communicating through this procedure. When we are communicating, our physical distance from our audience also adds meaning or subtracts meaning from our communication, as sometimes we need to get close to our audience, and sometimes we have to maintain a distance from our audience. Edward Hall has forwarded four sorts of spaces. First is public space, which means that we have to keep ourselves from a distance of 12 to 25 feet. And if we are, for example, if we are talking to an audience, or if we are taking a class, we have to maintain a space of 12 to 25 feet from our audience. And the other is social space, where we are in our social circles, like we are sitting with our colleagues, our fellows. We have to maintain 4 to 12 feet distance from our audience. And with our family members, which is personal space, we have to maintain 4 to 1 feet distance from our audience. And for intimate space, we maintain less than 1 feet space with our audience, with the person whom we are communicating. And in this sort of communication, where we are talking to our very close relatives or close friends, we can maintain less than 1 feet space. So space also adds meanings to our communication, as if we are keeping us from on a distance from our very near beings, like if I keep myself away from my offsprings, or my son, if I don't allow him to hug me, if I don't allow him to shake hand with me, it means I am not doing the right thing. It means that I am maintaining a distance, and I am disliking my son. So for a good communication, we should have a proper distance from our audience to convey a proper meaning. Chronemics is a communication-based understanding of time. When we are communicating with others, time also communicate its meaning non-verbally, but it varies from culture to culture and situation to situation. As in some countries, if you come late, if your meeting is decided on 10 a.m. and you reach late, it is a very negative. But in some other parts of the world, it is accepted if you come late, and even it is expected that you may come late. And based on situation, you may come late to a party in some part of the world, and even in those part of the world, like in America, you can reach late in a party, but you cannot think to reach late in a scheduled meeting, as it will be taken negative. Likewise, if you are a doctor and your patient has to wait for you, you reach late, it will be negative. But if you, in some other cases, you wait for other person, it is very natural or very in use in practice. So time also, time and maintaining management of time also reflect some meaning non-verbally to the audience. When you are communicating orally, when you are communicating verbally, your appearance is very important. As your hair, your hairstyle, your dressing, your clothing, your body type, and other physical features, they are very important in your communication, as they also reflect some meaning. As if you are going to attend a meeting, but your hair are not properly made, and you are not wearing a proper dress, it means that you are not serious for that meeting. And if you are going to a party with a funky party with a formal dress, it means you are not serious to attend that party. So you have to prepare you physically according to the situation, because your physical situation, your physical features, your body movements, your dressing, your hairstyle, your combing of hair, your making of yourself, it also reflect a meaning to the audience. In a nutshell, we can say that for verbal communication and for sending messages to our audience, non-verbal communication is very necessary, and we should understand non-verbal signals, and we should understand what people want from us. If we don't use non-verbal signals, if we don't use body movements, if our gestures are not proper, if our style is not proper, if our dressing is not to the point, if we are not maintaining, say, a distance, a right distance from our audience, if we are not maintaining eye contact with our audience, it will be problematic then for your audience to infer meanings, and it will be problematic for you to share the meaning with your audience, as you cannot you will not be able to attract the attention of the audience. And if audience are not attending you, they are not interested, they will not understand what you are saying. So for an effective communication and for an effective communicator, it is very necessary to know global signals of non-verbal communication. Thank you.